Good evening, friends, and welcome back to Boring History for Sleep. Tonight, we'll drift into the quiet corners of medieval life, exploring one of humanity's most practical yet rarely discussed challenges: what people did before the invention of toilet paper. Dim your lights now, settle under your blanket, and let your breathing slow as we journey back to a time when daily necessities required far more creativity than we might imagine today. As you close your eyes, picture the soft glow of candlelight flickering against stone walls, the gentle crackle of a dying fire in the hearth, and the peaceful silence of a world without modern conveniences. Tonight's journey will take us through 6 gentle chapters of discovery, each revealing the ingenious, sometimes surprising, and always human solutions our ancestors found to life's most basic needs. If this calm journey helps you unwind and carries you toward restful sleep, tap like and subscribe only if it feels right. For now, let your mind settle as we step back nearly 1,000 years to a world where comfort meant something entirely different, yet where human ingenuity shone just as brightly as it does today. Let me tell you about Brother Thomas, whose weathered hands tend the herb gardens of St. Odilbert Monastery in the year 1247. The morning mist clings to the stone walls as he walks the gravel paths between carefully tended rows of plants, each one serving a sacred purpose in the daily life of his community. Thomas knows every leaf, every root, every healing property that grows within these protected walls, but perhaps most importantly, he knows which plants serve the most humble yet essential needs of human existence. Picture yourself walking beside him as the sun rises over the monastery walls, casting long shadows across beds of mullein with its soft, velvety leaves that feel like nature's own velvet between your fingers. The monks have cultivated these plants for generations, not for their modest yellow flowers, but for leaves so gentle and absorbent they seem designed by Providence itself for the most delicate purposes. Thomas runs his fingers along a mullein leaf, feeling its downy texture, knowing that this simple plant has brought comfort to countless souls within these walls. The medieval world, you see, operated on a principle we've largely forgotten: that nature provides everything necessary for human survival, if only we know where to look and how to prepare it. Brother Thomas learned this wisdom from Brother Augustine before him, who learned it from Brother Francis, creating an unbroken chain of knowledge stretching back to the monastery's founding nearly 2 centuries ago. Each generation of monks refined their understanding, discovering which leaves worked best in different seasons, how to properly prepare them, and which combinations offered the greatest comfort. As you imagine Thomas moving through his garden, notice how he pauses at a patch of lamb's ear, its leaves even softer than the mullein, with a silvery sheen that catches the early morning light. He whispers a small prayer of gratitude, as he does for every gift the earth provides. These leaves, when properly dried and stored, maintain their softness through the harsh winter months when fresh alternatives become scarce. The monastery's storage rooms contain carefully bundled leaves, organized by Brother Thomas with the same precision a modern pharmacist might organize medications. But the gardens hold more secrets than just soft leaves. Thomas tends to patches of corn cobs, not the sweet corn we know today, but the dried, woody husks of grain that, when properly prepared, serve multiple purposes in medieval life. The texture might surprise you if you could touch one smooth in some places, slightly ridged in others, designed by nature to be both effective and biodegradable. The monks soak these in rainwater collected in stone basins, softening them just enough to make them comfortable while maintaining their structural integrity. The sound of gentle footsteps on gravel announces the arrival of Brother Benedict, the monastery's librarian, whose scholarly duties have given him insight into practices from across the known world. He carries with him knowledge gathered from traveling merchants, pilgrims, and the occasional learned visitor who shares tales from distant lands. Benedict tells Thomas about techniques used in the great monastery of Cluny, where monks have developed methods for preparing sheep's wool into soft, reusable materials that can be washed and used again. Listen to their quiet conversation as morning birds begin their songs. Benedict describes how the Cluny monks card the wool using wooden combs, creating fluffy, cloud-like materials that feel almost luxurious against the skin. The process requires patience and skill first, washing the raw wool in herb-scented water, then carefully combing it until each fiber separates and softens. The finished product, Benedict explains, with obvious admiration, can be used multiple times before wearing out, making it both economical and environmentally sound. Thomas nods thoughtfully, his mind already considering how such techniques might work within their own community. The monastery keeps a small flock of sheep, their wool currently used only for clothing and blankets. But perhaps there's wisdom in expanding their understanding of this versatile material. He makes a mental note to speak with Brother Marcus, who oversees the sheep, about setting aside some of the finer wool for experimentation. The conversation turns to other materials as the two monks continue their slow walk through the gardens. Benedict shares stories from his correspondence with monasteries in warmer climates, where different plants grow and different solutions emerge. In the Mediterranean monasteries, monks use olive leaves, which possess natural antiseptic properties while maintaining surprising softness when properly prepared. The leaves are dried in the shade, then rubbed between stones until they achieve an almost fabric-like texture as morning progresses into afternoon. Thomas shows Benedict a section of the garden dedicated to plants with unexpected purposes. Here grows common plantain, its broad leaves offering both healing properties and practical utility. The monks prepare these leaves by gently bruising them to release their natural oils, creating materials that soothe as well as clean. Thomas explains how the youngest monks, new to monastic life and unfamiliar with these ancient wisdoms, initially resist such seemingly primitive methods until they experience the comfort and effectiveness firsthand. The medieval understanding of hygiene, you see, encompassed far more than mere cleanliness. It involved harmony with the natural world, sustainable practices, and deep knowledge of plant properties that took generations to accumulate. Brother Thomas knows which leaves work best for different individuals. Some brothers prefer the silky texture of lamb's ear, while others find mullein more suitable to their needs. This personalized approach reflects a sophistication often overlooked in our modern understanding of medieval life. As evening approaches, and the bells call the community to vespers, Thomas makes his final rounds through the garden. He checks the drying racks, where tomorrow's supplies cure in the gentle breeze. ensures that stored materials remain properly protected from moisture, and says his evening prayers of gratitude for the abundance surrounding him. The monastery's approach to such intimate necessities reflects their broader philosophy that every aspect of human existence deserves thoughtful consideration and gentle care. Picture the scene as twilight settles over the monastery walls. The gardens rest in peaceful silence, their hidden treasures of comfort and necessity growing quietly under the stars. Brother Thomas retires to his cell, knowing that his community will rest comfortably through the night, their basic needs met through ancient wisdom and careful preparation. The soft rustle of leaves in the evening breeze seems to whisper secrets of generations past, each plant a testament to humanity's enduring ability to find gentle solutions to life's most fundamental challenges. In this world of stone walls and candlelight, where winter winds howl through corridors and summer heat bakes the courtyards, comfort comes not from manufactured products, but from deep knowledge of the natural world and careful preparation of its gifts. Brother Thomas embodies this wisdom, his gentle hands tending not just plants, but the well-being of his entire community through understanding that stretches back centuries and forward into nights of peaceful rest. Now let your mind wander to the great stone keep of Ravenshollow Castle, where Lady Margaret oversees household management with the precision of a military campaign. The year is 1284. And autumn mist swirls around the castle's towers as she conducts her morning inspection of the household's most private facilities. Follow her soft footsteps down corridors lined with tapestries that muffle sound and retain warmth, past chambers where castle life unfolds in carefully orchestrated routine. Lady Margaret carries with her a ring of iron keys, each one opening doors to different aspects of castle life. But today she focuses on areas rarely mentioned in the grand tales of medieval nobility. The castle's garderobe towers, those ingenious architectural solutions to human necessity, require constant attention and thoughtful management to maintain both comfort and hygiene for the castle's residents and guests. Picture the circular staircase that winds upward within the tower wall, lit by narrow windows that cast geometric patterns on the stone steps. Lady Margaret climbs slowly, her silk slippers silent on the worn stones, while she considers the inventory of supplies stored in chambers along the way. Each level of the tower serves a different function, from storage to preparation to the final chambers where comfort meets necessity. In medieval engineering, the first chamber contains bundles of linen scraps, sorted by quality and texture with the same care that monastery scribes organize their precious manuscripts. Lady Margaret examines these materials with experienced fingers, testing softness and absorbency. These aren't random cloth remnants, but carefully selected pieces cut from worn-out garments of different social stations within the castle. The softest pieces come from the silk and fine wool garments of the nobility, while coarser materials derive from servants, linen and cotton when available. Listen to the gentle rustle of fabric as Lady Margaret sorts through the collection. She explains to her young assistant, Sarah, how different materials serve different purposes and different people within the castle hierarchy. The finest silk remnants, soft as whispers against the skin, are reserved for the lord and lady of the castle and their most honored guests. The texture of silk, even when cut from worn garments, maintains a luxury that seems almost magical in an age where such materials represent incredible wealth and status. Sarah learns that the preparation of these cloth pieces requires considerable skill and attention. Each scrap must be properly cleaned, often multiple times, using soap made from animal fats and ash lye produced in the castle's own workshops. The washing process takes place in large wooden tubs filled with water heated over kitchen fires, with the finest pieces receiving individual attention to ensure they maintain their softness and integrity. The castle's approach to textile preparation reveals sophisticated understanding of hygiene and comfort that contradicts common assumptions about medieval cleanliness. Lady Margaret shows Sarah how certain cloth pieces are treated with herbal preparations, lavender for fragrance and antiseptic properties, chamomile for soothing effects, and rosemary for preservation. These herbs grow wild in the castle's kitchen gardens and surrounding countryside, providing natural enhancements that serve both practical and aesthetic purposes. Moving to the next level of the tower, Lady Margaret opens a chamber containing materials that would surprise modern visitors with their ingenuity and variety. Here, wooden splints are stored in careful arrangements, not rough sticks, but smooth pieces of wood carved by the castle's craftsmen into ergonomic shapes designed for comfort and effectiveness. These splints come from different types of wood, each chosen for specific properties that make them suitable for intimate use. The craftsmen who create these items possess knowledge passed down through generations of woodworkers. They understand which woods remain smooth after extended use, which resist splintering, and which can be carved to precise dimensions that ensure both safety and comfort. Birchwood, with its fine grain and natural smoothness, proves particularly suitable, while oak, despite its strength, requires more careful preparation to achieve the necessary texture. Sarah watches as Lady Margaret demonstrates the proper preparation of these wooden implements. Each piece undergoes careful sanding with progressively finer abrasives, first rough stones to shape them, then smoother stones to refine the surface, and finally polishing with fine sand and cloth until they achieve an almost silky finish. The process requires patience and skill, transforming rough wood into implements that feel comfortable against the most sensitive skin. The castle's approach to wood preparation includes treatments that enhance both durability and hygiene. Some pieces are rubbed with beeswax, creating a protective coating that repels moisture while maintaining smoothness. Others receive treatments with plant oils, oil when available through trade, or rendered fat from kitchen preparations when exotic oils prove too expensive. These treatments must be applied carefully and allowed to cure properly, creating materials that can be used safely and comfortably. But perhaps the most ingenious aspect of the castle's system lies in the next chamber, where Lady Margaret stores her most prized possessions. For this purpose, actual paper, imported at considerable expense from the Islamic world through Mediterranean trade routes. This paper, made from cotton and linen fibers using techniques unknown in most of Europe, represents the height of luxury and sophistication in medieval hygiene practices. Picture Lady Margaret handling these precious sheets with the reverence she might show to illuminated manuscripts or religious relics. The paper arrives in carefully protected bundles, wrapped in oiled cloth, to prevent moisture damage during the long journey from Spain or Italy. Each sheet costs more than a skilled craftsman earns in several days, making it available only to the wealthiest noble families and then only for the most important occasions. The paper feels different from any material we might imagine, thicker than modern toilet paper, with a texture somewhere between parchment and cloth. It's made from cotton fibers, beaten and processed using techniques that create remarkable softness, despite the paper's durability. Lady Margaret shows Sarah how to test the paper's quality by holding it up to candlelight, checking for uniform thickness and the absence of rough spots that might cause discomfort. Using such expensive paper requires ceremony and careful rationing. Lady Margaret keeps detailed records of its use, ensuring that it's available for visiting dignitaries, important religious festivals, and family celebrations when the castle must demonstrate its wealth and sophistication. The very possession of such materials sends messages about the castle's connections to international trade networks and its family status within the complex hierarchy of medieval nobility. As evening approaches and torches are lit throughout the castle, Lady Margaret completes her inspection with satisfaction. Each chamber contains adequate supplies, properly organized and carefully maintained. The castle's residents will sleep comfortably tonight, knowing that their most basic needs are met with materials that represent the finest solutions available in their medieval world. Sarah follows Lady Margaret down the winding staircase, her mind full of new knowledge about household management that extends far beyond the grand feasts and public ceremonies that usually capture attention in stories of castle life. She's learned that true nobility expresses itself not just in public displays of wealth, but in the thoughtful attention to private comfort that ensures every resident's dignity and well-being. The soft sound of their footsteps echoes in the stone stairwell as they descend toward the warmth of the great hall, where evening fires cast dancing shadows on tapestried walls. Above them, the carefully maintained chambers stand ready to serve their humble but essential purpose, each material chosen and prepared with the same attention to detail that characterizes every aspect of life within these ancient walls. As we leave that castle tower, let your mind drift down the hillside to the village below, where smoke rises from cottage chimneys and the sound of looms creates a gentle rhythm in the crisp morning air. Here, in a modest timber-framed workshop, Master Willem tends his craft with hands that have known this work for 30 years. The year is 1312. An autumn light filters through small glass windows of luxury in this rural setting, illuminating the tools and materials of his trade. Picture Willem at his great loom, the wooden frame rising nearly to the cottage ceiling, its complex arrangement of threads creating patterns that will become cloth for the entire village community. But today, as harvest season ends and winter preparations begin, Willem focuses on a different aspect of his craft: the creation of materials that serve the most intimate and practical needs of his neighbors and family. The sound of the loom creates a meditation rhythm as Willem works thick each pass of the shuttle, adding another thread to fabric that will soon provide comfort and necessity for village families. His wife, Margot, sits nearby at a spinning wheel, transforming raw flax fibers into the fine threads that form the foundation of their work. The wheel's gentle whir harmonizes with the loom's steady beat, creating a symphony of domestic productivity that has continued unchanged for generations. Willem's workshop contains materials that tell the story of medieval textile production in ways that few modern people understand. Bundles of flax stems lean against stone walls, their woody exteriors hiding the precious fibers within. These plants grew in fields just outside the village, tended by farmers who understand the precise timing required for optimal fiber quality. The flax must be harvested at exactly the right moment. Too early, and the fibers remain weak. Too late, and they become coarse and difficult to work. Watch as Willem demonstrates the process of transforming these humble plants into soft, useful fabric. First comes the retting, where flax stems soak in wooden troughs filled with water from the village stream. The water must be changed regularly to prevent rotting, while allowing the natural breakdown of plant materials that bind the fibers together. This process requires patience and careful attention. Willem checks his retting flax daily, testing the stems between his fingers to determine when they've reached the perfect state for the next step. The workshop fills with the earthy scent of wet flax and the sharper smell of wooden tools worn smooth by decades of use. Willem shows how the retted flax moves through breaking, where wooden tools crack the woody stems without damaging the precious fibers inside. The technique requires both strength and delicacy. Too much force destroys the fibers. Too little leaves unusable material mixed with the good. Willem's experienced hands find the perfect balance, his movements as natural and rhythmic as breathing. Margot takes over the next step, using heckling combs to separate and align the flax fibers. These tools, with their sharp iron teeth set in wooden blocks, require careful handling to avoid injury while achieving the finest possible separation of fibers. She works the flax through progressively finer combs, each pass removing shorter fibers and foreign matter while aligning the remaining fibers into parallel strands that feel almost like silk when properly prepared. The finest fibers, those that emerge from the final heckling, will become linen of extraordinary softness and durability. But Willem and Margot waste nothing. Even the shorter fibers and the coarser materials find important uses in village life. The shorter fibers, called tow, can be spun into rougher threads suitable for work clothing and household purposes, while the coarsest materials serve more utilitarian functions that nevertheless require careful preparation and thoughtful application. Picture the scene as afternoon. Light slants through the workshop windows, illuminating motes of flax dust that dance in the air like tiny golden snowflakes. Willem explains to his teenage apprentice, young Peter, how different grades of linen serve different purposes within village society. The finest linen, woven from the longest and most carefully prepared fibers, creates cloth so soft and smooth it rivals silk in comfort, while surpassing it in durability and practicality. This finest linen, when cut into appropriately sized pieces and properly finished, provides the most comfortable and hygienic solution available to medieval people for their most intimate needs. Willem shows Peter how to cut the fabric with sharp shears, creating pieces large enough to be effective, while avoiding waste of precious material. Each piece receives individual attention. Edges are carefully finished to prevent fraying, and the surface is checked for any rough spots that might cause discomfort. The finishing process reveals the sophistication of medieval textile craftsmanship. Willem teaches Peter to rub each piece of linen with smooth stones, a technique that softens the fabric while maintaining its strength and absorbency. The stones, worn smooth by years of use, impart a polish to the linen that makes it feel almost luxurious against the skin. This process, called beetling, requires patience and skill to achieve consistent results across all pieces. But the workshop's innovations extend beyond simple linen preparation. Margot shows how certain pieces can be enhanced with herbal treatments that add both fragrance and beneficial properties. She prepares solutions using herbs grown in their cottage garden: lavender for its antiseptic qualities and pleasant scent, chamomile for its soothing properties, and mint for its refreshing effect. These herbs are steeped in hot water to extract their essential qualities. Then the linen pieces are soaked and dried slowly to preserve both the fabric's integrity and the herb's beneficial properties. The village approach to textile hygiene reflects a deep understanding of both human needs and natural resources. Willem explains how different families prefer different solutions based on their economic circumstances and personal preferences. Wealthy families might request the finest linen treated with expensive imported herbs, while others find comfort and satisfaction in well-made pieces from coarser materials, enhanced with locally grown plants. As evening approaches and the workshop grows quiet, Willem and Margot stack their completed work in wooden chests lined with herbs to prevent insects and maintain freshness. Each piece represents hours of skilled labor, from the growing of flax to the final finishing touches. Their work embodies the medieval principle that even the most humble necessities deserve careful attention and skillful craftsmanship. Young Peter helps organize the completed materials, learning not just the technical aspects of textile production, but the deeper philosophy that guides his master's work. Willem teaches that true craftsmanship lies not in creating objects that impress with ostentation, but in producing items that serve essential human needs with dignity, comfort, and reliability. This wisdom, passed from master to apprentice across generations, ensures that knowledge and skills survive to meet the practical needs of future generations. The soft light of oil lamps illuminates the workshop as the day's work concludes. Outside, the village settles into evening routines, families gathering around hearth fires, animals secured for the night, and the peaceful satisfaction that comes from honest work completed. Willem's loom stands ready for tomorrow's labor, its threads aligned and tensioned for another day of transforming raw materials into the comfortable necessities that make medieval life not just survivable, but genuinely comfortable for those wise enough to understand and apply traditional craftsmanship. The gentle sound of wind through thatched roofs carries the sense of wood smoke and dinner preparations. As the village prepares for rest, secure in the knowledge that skilled artisans like Willem and Margot provide for their most basic needs with the same dedication and expertise that others bring to more celebrated crafts. Follow the creaking wheels of a merchant's wagon as it winds along muddy roads between distant cities, carrying treasures, both exotic and practical, to markets hungry for goods unavailable in their local regions. Master Giovanni, a cloth merchant from Florence, guides his heavily loaded cart northward toward Paris in the spring of 1345. His cargo carefully protected under oiled canvas against the unpredictable weather that makes travel both profitable and perilous. Picture the morning mist rising from valleys as Giovanni's small caravan, 2 wagons, 4 guards, and his trusted assistant, Marco, begins another day of travel along roads that connect the medieval world's great trading centers. The wagons carry more than bolts of silk and wool. Hidden among the more obvious merchandise lie smaller packages containing materials that command premium prices from customers who understand their extraordinary value and rarity. Giovanni's specialty extends beyond ordinary textiles into materials that represent the cutting edge of medieval hygiene technology, wrapped in silk cloth and stored in wooden boxes lined with aromatic herbs. His most precious cargo includes actual paper manufactured in the Islamic cities of Spain, using techniques that remain mysterious to most European craftsmen. This paper, made from cotton and linen fibers, processed with methods unknown north of the Pyrenees, feels softer and more absorbent than any material produced in Christian Europe. Listen to the gentle conversation between Giovanni and Marco as their wagon bounces along rutted roads. Giovanni explains how he acquired these precious materials during his winter stay in Cordoba, where Islamic craftsmen have perfected papermaking techniques that transform humble plant fibers into products that rival silk in softness while surpassing it in practical utility. The process, Giovanni learned through careful observation and discreet inquiries, involves beating cotton and linen fibers into pulp, then spreading this mixture onto screens, where it dries into sheets of remarkable uniformity and texture. The paper Giovanni carries represents more than mere merchandise. It embodies the intersection of different civilizations and the gradual transfer of knowledge that characterizes medieval trade relationships. Each sheet cost him nearly as much as a skilled craftsman's weekly wages. But his customers in Northern Europe will pay even more for materials they cannot obtain anywhere else. This paper serves the most intimate needs of nobility and wealthy merchants who demand comfort and sophistication that local materials simply cannot provide. Marco, relatively new to the complexities of international trade, marvels at his master's knowledge of markets and materials. Giovanni shares stories from his travels, describing the workshops of Cordoba where he watched craftsmen transform raw cotton into products that seem almost magical in their softness and practicality. The Moorish artisans, he explains, guard their techniques carefully, but patient observation and generous payment can provide glimpses into methods that have taken centuries to develop and refine. The wagon's cargo includes more than paper, however. Giovanni carries samples of silk textiles woven specifically for hygienic purposes, materials so fine and smooth they feel like water against the skin. These silks come from workshops in Byzantium, where Greek craftsmen have maintained techniques dating back to the height of the Roman Empire. The silk arrives in Florence through Venetian merchants who maintain trading Relationships with Constantinople, despite the complex political and religious tensions that divide the medieval world. Picture Giovanni examining these silk pieces by lamplight. Caravan camps beside a roadside inn. The fabric feels different from ordinary silk, softer, more flexible, with a texture achieved through special weaving techniques that create maximum surface smoothness. The Byzantine craftsman Giovanni explains to Marco, use silk threads spun to precise specifications. Then weave them using looms adjusted to create fabric with optimal absorbency and comfort for the most delicate uses. The preparation of such materials requires expertise that spans generations of craftsmen. Giovanni describes watching Byzantine weavers work with threads so fine they seem almost invisible, their fingers moving with precision developed through decades of practice. The looms themselves represent marvels of engineering, adjusted to maintain exactly the right tension and spacing to create fabric that feels almost liquid in its smoothness and flexibility. As the caravan progresses northward, Giovanni shares knowledge gained from customers in different cities. In Milan, wealthy bankers prefer paper enhanced with rosewater, a luxury that adds both fragrance and antimicrobial properties to already expensive materials. The rosewater must be applied carefully and allowed to dry slowly to prevent damage to the paper's structure, while imparting its beneficial qualities evenly throughout each sheet. Venetian merchants, Giovanni reports, favor silk pieces treated with aloe preparations imported from North Africa through complex trade networks that span the Mediterranean. The aloe, processed into concentrated extracts, adds soothing properties to silk that already provides exceptional comfort. This combination of luxury materials and exotic enhancements creates products that command prices, reflecting both their rarity and their effectiveness. For the most discerning customers, the wagon rolls through countryside, where peasants work fields using methods unchanged for centuries. But Giovanni's cargo represents the cutting edge of medieval innovation and international exchange. His materials embody knowledge transferred across cultural and religious boundaries, Islamic techniques adapted by Christian craftsmen, and Byzantine traditions maintained. Despite political upheavals that have transformed the medieval world, Marco learns that successful merchants must understand not just markets and prices, but the cultural preferences and personal needs of customers in different regions. Northern European nobility, accustomed to rougher local materials, respond with amazement to the softness and sophistication of Islamic paper and Byzantine silk. Their willingness to pay premium prices reflects both genuine appreciation for superior products and desire to display wealth through possession of exotic luxuries unavailable to their social inferiors. As evening approaches, and the caravan prepares to camp near a monastery, hospitality to traveling merchants, Giovanni reflects on the broader significance of his trade. The materials he carries represent more than commercial opportunities. They embody the gradual improvement of human comfort and dignity through the exchange of knowledge and techniques between different civilizations. His work contributes to raising standards of living and personal hygiene throughout Europe, one customer at a time. The soft light of campfire illuminates faces gathered around evening meals as merchants, guards, and other travelers share stories and information about roads ahead. Giovanni contributes his own knowledge while gathering intelligence about market conditions in cities still days of travel away. This informal network of information exchange proves as valuable as the merchandise itself, enabling merchants to adapt their strategies and maximize their success in an era when communication travels no faster than horses can carry it. Marco helps secure the wagon's precious cargo for the night, checking that all protective coverings remain secure against dew and possible rain. The materials Giovanni carries will soon provide comfort and dignity to people who have never traveled beyond their local regions, connecting them to techniques and knowledge developed in distant lands by craftsmen they will never meet. This invisible network of trade and cultural exchange transforms medieval life in ways both subtle and profound, one carefully wrapped package at a time. In the hushed chambers of Windsor Castle, where tapestries muffle sound and braziers cast warm light against stone walls, Master Edmund tends to the health and comfort of England's royal family with knowledge gained from the finest medical schools of Europe. The year is 1367, and Edmund has recently returned from studies in Salerno, where Islamic, Greek, and Christian medical traditions merge to create the most advanced healing practices available to medieval physicians. Picture Master Edmund in his private study, surrounded by precious manuscripts copied from Arabic texts, their pages filled with medical knowledge that represents centuries of observation and experimentation. Candlelight flickers across illustrations showing human anatomy, herbal preparations, and detailed instructions for maintaining health and hygiene that extend far beyond the simple remedies known to most European practitioners. Edmund's understanding of intimate hygiene reflects sophisticated medical theory that considers both physical comfort and disease prevention. His training in Salerno exposed him to Islamic medical texts that describe the human body with scientific precision unknown in most of Christian Europe, including detailed attention to practices that maintain health in the body's most sensitive and vulnerable areas. Listen to the soft scratch of his quill as Edmund updates his medical journal, recording observations about different materials and their effects on human health. His entries reflect careful scientific methods, detailed descriptions of symptoms, precise measurements of treatments, and honest assessments of results that either confirm or challenge theoretical knowledge gained from books and teachers. The royal family's intimate needs receive the same careful attention that Edmund applies to treating serious illnesses and injuries. He has developed a sophisticated understanding of which materials provide optimal comfort while supporting the body's natural healing and cleansing processes. This knowledge combines classical medical theory with practical observation, Islamic scientific methods with traditional European remedies. Edmund's treatment approach emphasizes materials that support the body's natural functions rather than simply providing temporary comfort. He prepares soft linen pieces treated with herbal solutions that possess genuine medicinal properties, not mere fragrance, but active compounds that promote healing and prevent infection. His preparations reflect a deep understanding of plant chemistry that centuries of Islamic scholarship have developed and refined. The royal medicine chest contains materials that would astonish modern observers with their sophistication and effectiveness. Edmund shows his assistant, young Thomas, silk cloth treated with rose oil and honey, a combination that provides antimicrobial protection while maintaining luxurious softness. The preparation process requires precise timing and temperature control to preserve both the silk's integrity and the honey's beneficial properties. Thomas learns that Edmund's methods represent the convergence of multiple medical traditions. The use of honey as an antimicrobial agent comes from ancient Egyptian practices preserved in Islamic medical texts, while the silk preparation techniques derive from Byzantine sources that maintain Roman imperial standards of luxury and effectiveness. This synthesis of knowledge from different cultures creates treatments that surpass any single tradition's capabilities. But Edmund's most remarkable innovation lies in his development of paper materials enhanced with medicinal compounds. Working with expensive paper imported from Islamic Spain, he creates preparations that transforms mere luxury items into genuine medical devices that promote healing while providing unmatched comfort. The process requires delicate chemical knowledge and precise execution to achieve consistent, safe results. Picture Edmund in his laboratory, carefully measuring quantities of plant extracts with scales so sensitive they can detect differences smaller than a grain of wheat. He prepares solutions using distillation techniques learned from Islamic alchemists, concentrating the active compounds from healing plants into potent preparations that can be applied to paper without damaging its structure or compromising its effectiveness. The plants Edmund uses come from the royal gardens, where specialist gardeners cultivate medicinal herbs under his direct supervision. Each plant receives individual attention, optimal soil conditions, precise harvesting timing, and careful drying techniques that preserve maximum potency. Edmund personally oversees every step from cultivation to final preparation, ensuring quality control that meets the exacting standards required for royal use. Aloe plants, grown in heated conservatories that protect them from English weather, provide extracts with remarkable healing properties. Edmund has learned to process these plants using techniques that concentrate their beneficial compounds while removing potentially irritating elements. The resulting preparation feels cooling and soothing against sensitive skin while actively promoting healing and preventing infection. Chamomile flowers, harvested at dawn when their essential oil content reaches peak concentration, yield extracts that provide both physical comfort and calming effects on the nervous system. Edmund's preparation methods preserve these volatile compounds through careful temperature control and protection from air and light that can degrade their potency. The finished preparation adds subtle fragrance, along with genuine therapeutic benefits, young Thomas observes, as Edmund demonstrates the preparation of what he calls royal comfort materials, paper, pieces treated with multiple herbal extracts applied in precise sequence to maximize their combined effectiveness. Each step requires perfect timing and environmental control, with temperature, humidity, and air circulation, all carefully managed to ensure optimal results. The treatment process begins with paper selection. Only the finest materials, tested for uniformity and absorbency, qualify for royal use. Edmund examines each sheet with the same attention he applies to diagnosing illnesses, checking for consistent thickness, surface smoothness, and absence of imperfections that might cause discomfort or reduce effectiveness. Next comes the application of herbal preparations, done in sequence that reflects Edmund's understanding of how different compounds interact with each other and with the paper substrate. The first treatment provides antimicrobial protection. The second adds soothing properties. And the third creates a protective barrier that enhances comfort while allowing the beneficial compounds to remain active. As evening approaches and castle life settles into quieter rhythms, Edmund completes his day's preparations with satisfaction. The materials he has created represent the pinnacle of medieval medical innovation applied to humanity's most basic needs. His work ensures that the royal family enjoys not just luxury and comfort, but genuine health benefits that reduce infection, risk, and promote healing. Thomas helps organize the completed materials in wooden cabinets, designed to preserve their quality and potency. Each piece represents hours of skilled work, combining medical knowledge, chemical expertise, and practical craftsmanship into products that serve essential human needs with unprecedented effectiveness and comfort. The soft glow of oil lamps illuminates Edmund's study as he records the day's work in his medical journal, contributing to a body of knowledge that future physicians will build upon and refine. His innovations in combining luxury materials with genuine medical benefits to improve human life in ways both practical and profound. As our journey through medieval hygiene practices draws to a gentle close, let your mind settle in the peaceful garden of Goodwife Matilda, the village healer whose knowledge of plants and their properties has served her community for over 40 years. The evening light of 1398 filters through apple trees heavy with autumn fruit, casting dappled shadows across beds of herbs that have grown under her careful tending since she first learned their secrets from her grandmother decades ago. Picture Matilda moving slowly through her garden paths, her experienced hands recognizing each plant by touch alone in the gathering dusk. Her knowledge encompasses not just the healing properties of roots and leaves, but the intimate understanding of which plants provide comfort and cleanliness for the human body's most basic needs. This wisdom, passed from woman to woman across generations, represents perhaps the most practical and essential knowledge in medieval life. The garden speaks in whispers of rustling leaves and the soft buzz of evening insects drawn to late-blooming flowers. Matilda pauses beside a patch of lamb's ear, its silvery leaves soft as velvet in the dying light. These plants, she explains to her granddaughter Emma, represent nature's own provision for human comfort. Leaves so gentle they seem designed specifically for the most delicate purposes, yet sturdy enough to serve their function reliably. Now 15, and eager to learn the healing arts that have sustained their family's reputation for generations, listens intently as Matilda shares knowledge that cannot be found in any book. The preparation of lamb's ear requires understanding that comes only from experience, knowing when the leaves reach optimal softness, how to dry them to preserve their texture, and which individual plants produce the finest materials. Watch as Matilda demonstrates the harvesting technique, selecting leaves at exactly the right stage of development. Too young, and they lack the substantial texture needed for practical use. Too mature, and they become coarse and less comfortable. Her fingers move with practiced precision, choosing only perfect specimens while leaving enough foliage to ensure continued plant health and future harvests. The drying process reveals the sophistication of traditional knowledge that medieval healers developed through centuries of experimentation and refinement. Matilda shows Emma how to arrange the leaves on wooden frames stretched with linen cloth, spacing them carefully to ensure proper air circulation while protecting them from direct sunlight that might damage their delicate structure. The frames hang in the cottage's herb drying room, where temperature and humidity remain relatively constant throughout the changing seasons. But lamb's ear represents only one option in Matilda's comprehensive approach to natural hygiene materials. She guides Emma to a section of the garden where mullein grows tall and stately, its flower spikes reaching toward the sky while broad basal leaves spread close to the ground. These leaves, Matilda explains, possess different qualities than lamb's ear, slightly more substantial in texture, with natural antiseptic properties that add therapeutic benefits to their comfort and utility. The preparation of mullein requires different techniques that reflect its unique characteristics. Matilda shows Emma how to select the finest leaves and treat them with gentle massage that increases their softness while preserving their integrity. This massage technique, performed with hands moistened with herbal oils, transforms already soft leaves into materials that feel almost luxurious while maintaining their natural beneficial properties. As night settles over the village and windows begin to glow with candlelight, Matilda shares stories of how different families prefer different plant materials based on individual sensitivities and personal preferences. The miller's wife finds comfort in plantain leaves prepared with chamomile oil, while the blacksmith's family prefers mullein treated with lavender water. These preferences reflect not mere whim, but genuine differences in how various materials interact with individual body chemistry and skin sensitivity. Emma learns that successful healing involves understanding people as well as plants, recognizing that effective treatments must consider not just medical properties, but personal comfort and psychological acceptance. A remedy that causes embarrassment or discomfort will not be used consistently, regardless of its theoretical benefits. Matilda's approach emphasizes materials and preparations that people can use with dignity and satisfaction. Cottage garden contains plants whose uses extend far beyond simple healing into the realm of genuine comfort and luxury, available to common people through knowledge and careful preparation. Rose hips, gathered after the first frost has concentrated their natural oils, can be processed into preparations that add both fragrance and skin-soothing properties to basic plant materials. The process requires patience and skill, but the results rival anything available to the nobility. Matilda demonstrates the preparation of rose hip oil, showing Emma how to extract the precious essence without destroying its beneficial properties. The technique involves gentle heating and careful straining that concentrates the active compounds while removing elements that might cause irritation. The finished oil, applied sparingly to prepared leaves, creates materials that provide both physical comfort and the psychological satisfaction that comes from pleasant fragrance and luxurious texture. The gardens. Wisdom extends to plants that most people consider common weeds, but which possess remarkable properties when properly understood and prepared. Common plantain, growing along the garden paths, provides leaves with natural antibiotic and anti-inflammatory properties that make them ideal for intimate hygiene while actively promoting healing and preventing infection. Emma watches as Matilda prepares plantain leaves using techniques that maximize their therapeutic benefits. The leaves undergo gentle bruising that releases their natural juices, followed by careful drying that preserves these beneficial compounds while creating optimal texture for their intended use. The process requires understanding of plant chemistry that traditional healers developed through generations of careful observation and experimentation. As the evening deepens and the cottage windows cast warm light across the garden paths, Matilda shares her philosophy of healing that encompasses both physical comfort and spiritual well-being. True healing, she teaches Emma, addresses not just symptoms but the whole person, their physical needs, emotional comfort, and sense of dignity and self-worth. Materials prepared for intimate hygiene must serve all these needs simultaneously to achieve genuine effectiveness. The night air carries the scents of drying herbs and late-blooming flowers as Matilda and Emma complete their evening garden rounds. Each plant represents knowledge accumulated across generations, techniques refined through countless applications, and wisdom that transforms humble weeds into materials that serve essential human needs with grace and effectiveness. Emma gather the day's harvest, learning not just which plants to select, but how to handle them with respect and gratitude. Matilda teaches that healing begins with recognition of the gifts that nature provides freely to those wise enough to understand and use them properly. This attitude of gratitude and respect infuses every aspect of traditional healing practice. The soft glow of oil lamps illuminates the cottage interior as grandmother and granddaughter process the evening's harvest. Their work continues traditions that stretch back to the beginning of human civilization. The careful observation of plant properties, the development of preparation techniques, and the sharing of knowledge that ensures future generations will have access to natural solutions for life's most basic needs as they work together in comfortable silence, punctuated by gentle instruction and quiet questions. The cottage embodies the continuity of knowledge that characterizes traditional healing practice. Emma absorbs not just specific techniques, but the broader understanding of how human needs can be met through careful attention to natural resources, time-tested preparation methods. The evening concludes with Matilda's final check of materials drying in the herb room, ensuring that tomorrow's supplies will cure properly overnight. Her movements reflect the satisfaction that comes from work well done, another day's contribution to her community's health and comfort. Another step in preparing Emma to carry forward knowledge that has served countless generations. Outside, the village settles into peaceful sleep, secure in the knowledge that Matilda's garden and her accumulated wisdom stand ready to meet their needs with materials that transform necessity into comfort. Application of traditional knowledge and careful craftsmanship that honors both human dignity and nature's abundance. May these quiet stories of medieval ingenuity and human dignity guide you into peaceful dreams, where the wisdom of generations past whispers gently through gardens of memory and comfort. These practical solutions, born from necessity and refined through centuries of human experience, remind us that care and thoughtfulness can transform even the most humble needs into opportunities for comfort and grace. As you drift toward sleep, let your mind rest on the image of Brother Thomas in his monastery garden, Lady Margaret organizing her castle's supplies, Willem at his loom creating soft linen, Giovanni carrying exotic materials across medieval Europe, Master Edmund preparing medicinal treatments, and Matilda sharing ancient plant wisdom with her granddaughter. Each represents humanity's enduring ability to find gentle solutions to life's most basic challenges through knowledge, skill, and compassionate attention to human dignity. If you drifted off during this quiet journey through medieval wisdom, let me know in the comments below. These stories were crafted to carry you gently into restful sleep while sharing fascinating glimpses into how our ancestors met their daily needs with creativity, sophistication, and care. Sweet dreams, friends, and thank you for joining this gentle exploration of medieval life's most practical yet rarely discussed aspects. Until our next quiet journey through history's peaceful corners, may your sleep be as comfortable as the finest medieval preparations could provide.